The following is an encore presentation of stories from the Dooralong Transformation Centre. Central Coast. If you were listening before the 10 o'clock news, I was telling you that we have a special guest in the studio this morning. It's Ian from the Dooralong Transformation Centre, so I'm going to say good morning to him again. Good morning, Ian.
Good morning.
Now then, we worked out last time that you had a bit of an accent, and we know it comes from Scotland. That's right, isn't it?
That's right, yes.
How long have you been here in Australia?
I've been in Australia 21 years.
21 years. Did you bring your addiction with you, or is it an Australian homegrown one?
It's developed very slowly over time. I've been a drinker from my teenage years.
Yeah.
Back, it was just on weekends.
Social, like everybody else.
That's right, yeah. But then, it was a glass of wine with dinner, relaxing after work. I was a daily drinker, probably for about the last 10, 15 years. But I had a job, so I thought that it was not, it was manageable. But just gradually over time, I realised that it was sort of taking over. About 10 years ago, a friend of mine said they were doing Dry July, and I thought, oh, that sounds interesting. I might give that a try as well. But I wasn't even able to have one night off the alcohol.
So it wasn't even a dry day.
No, that's right.
Let alone a dry month. Yeah. So you are not one of these people, and we've spoken to some people from Dooralong who started drinking and doing drugs because there were horrible things happening in their life, and it's a way of blotting out those things.
No, that's right. So there hasn't been any significant trauma. I think it's just a case of, originally at the beginning it was enjoyable. It was a way to relax. I didn't see any harm in it. There wasn't any harm at that time. But just over time, I just became dependent on it. And it certainly did become problematic.
So it just crept up and became part of your daily routine, part of your life.
That's right, yes.
Yeah. Must have affected relationships, must have affected jobs.
Absolutely, it has. I've lost relationships because of my drinking, I've lost a couple of jobs which were, really dear to me, really important part of my identity, important part of my life, and yet, because of the alcohol, I ruined
You lost them.
Yeah.
So these were jobs that you worked hard for. These were your dream jobs, if you like. Yet the alcohol robbed you of them.
Absolutely, yes. It's, on reflection, looking back, now after 6 months of sobriety, it's hard to make sense of. It's hard to understand how I managed to let it happen. But at the time, it was just out of control, and I wasn't even aware of how bad it was and how damaging it was.
Yeah. Because you did say jobs, so there was more than one job you lost through the drink?
Yeah, so I had been working at the University of New South Wales for about 10 years, and I was studying a PhD there. And as I got towards the time to submit my PhD, I was under a lot of stress, and I was, that's when my drinking really went out of control. Originally I took time off to complete the PhD, but my job wasn't there for me to go back to, and I wasn't in a fit state to go back either. My life was very much out of control and unmanageable. And then, after completing my PhD, my dream came true when I got a job at the Australian Human Rights Commission, and I started there at the end of 2019, but then and that was going really well until sort of March last year, when the initial lockdown.
Lockdown.
I started working from home because of the lockdown, and because I hadn't addressed the underlying problems or really got to the root causes of why I was drinking. It slowly crept in gradually over the course of last year, and my contract was up for renewal at the end of August, and I was told that it would not be renewed, which was again, completely understandable because I was not performing.
But they made it clear that it wasn't being renewed because of your drinking issues. Not because of your poor performance, it was because you were drinking too much.
That's right, yes.
Yeah. Did that not sort of prompt you to think, hang on, Ian, I'm going to have to do something about this?
Yes. I mean, it's really hard to explain. You know, when you're in that state, you kind of don't even realize, you know, just how out of control you are. You know, I think it has certainly for me. It has taken me a period of time, you know, of sobriety to you know, to
appreciate that. Yeah, I was that bad.
Yes.
Yeah. So a typical day for you, not before lockdown, but a typical day, that would have involved drink every day, would it?
Yes.
Yeah. And how much are we talking?
I was drinking about 2 liters of wine, so a cask of wine a day.
Yeah. And people didn't take you aside, you know, some of your mates, some of your friends and colleagues, and say, Ian, just a little quiet word, please?
No, not really. No, look, a couple of times at work, so in each of those jobs, my manager, I would say, you know, would pull me aside and say they could smell alcohol on my breath.
Yeah.
And look, you would think that would, you know, that might be enough to a bit of a wake-up call, but unfortunately, no. And I mein, that's the thing about addiction.
Yes. You think you're still in control.
That's right. Yeah.
And that you don't have an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. We must keep reminding ourselves that this isn't a matter of choice. You are addicted. It is an addiction. It is a disease. It's a treatable disease. It's not something you woke up and think, oh, I think I'll have a drink. It was you needed a drink.
Yeah, when it got to that point, it was very much a compulsion.
Yeah.
I just felt compelled. And, I mean, as you say, it's a treatable disease. And that's why, it took many attempts. So I did try.
On your own? Or with help? On your own?
I went to the doctor for the first time in 2018. And the doctor helped me do a detox. Because the thing about alcohol as well is, you know, when you're drinking that much alcohol in a day, it's actually quite dangerous.
Yes.
Or it's very dangerous to just, to go sort of cold turkey, as they say. It should be medically supervised. I had a great doctor who put me on who did a home detox with me. So that involved going to the doctor's surgery each day, and he would give me enough Valium for that day. So, I mean, I was having about 50 milligrams of Valium a day, each day for 5 days. I did a few of those detoxes.
But you didn't follow them up with rehab?
No, I didn't. No. So for 2 years, I was in this sort of cycle of going through a detox and managing to stay sober for about 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And then believing that I was, cured.
Yes.
Believing that I could have some control of the drinking, that I could drink in
I could just have one and it'll be okay.
Yeah, but it was always a very, very slippery slope. It would not be long before I was just right back in the same old pattern. And in fact, it got worse. It's a progressive illness.
So what changed your mind? What eventually led you to say yes to rehab?
Look, I was very fortunate. So I ended up in the Gorman unit at St. Vincent's Hospital, which is a detox, an inpatient, so medically supervised detox unit, and they have counsellors there. And it wasn't I'd been there before, and I found myself in there again, and the counsellor there he had asked me previously, because I believe it's offered to most people, if not all, who go through the detox process. But previously I had, I didn't believe that I needed it, so when I found myself in there in January of this year, that same counsellor said, look, what are you going to do differently this time? How is it going to be different? And he said, would I consider rehab? And I said, yeah. I mean, look, by this stage I was completely broken. I mean, I had lost everything.
Yeah, rock bottom.
Yeah, exactly. When you talk about rock bottom, there's always a deeper rock bottom, and because I had been to rock bottom before, but yes, at this point I would have tried anything. And I was very fortunate because so I said yes, and he made a call to the intake person at Dooralong and set up an intake assessment.
Yes.
And I was in there, a few days later. So I was very, very lucky because that's not, the experience for a lot of people at Dooralong. A lot of people spend months
on the waiting list.
On the waiting list, calling up every week. And so, in that respect, I'm very fortunate that that place was available at that time, and I managed to get in there.
And that was 6 months ago.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to pause for some music, and then we'll come back and we'll pick up Ian's story. 6 months ago, Ian this morning, and we left him at that point in his journey 6 months ago when he first went to Dooralong, his first rehab, not just first time to Dooralong, but his first rehab. What was it like, that first day at Dooralong?
Gosh, the first day was...
Scary?
Terrifying, yeah. Terrifying. I was really overwhelmed. The couple of months preceding that I really didn't emerge from my bedroom. I was drinking around 24/7, and from there I was taken into detox, and then went on a patient transport bus from Sydney up to Dooralong, and it was summer, so it was hot, and I arrived. It was just it was very overwhelming, but it was made to feel incredibly welcome. It's such a beautiful site.
It is.
It was great to be, out in nature.
Yes. A bit different than the middle of Sydney, St. Vincent.
That's right. Yeah. So that was a very nice sort of change. But arriving at Dooralong, it takes some time to get used to the rules because it is quite a controlled environment.
Of course,
there are many rules, but all of the rules are there for a very good reason, and really they create a very safe space for everyone. It took a while to get used to, but it was...
So there was still a little bit of resistance, or I don't know really whether this is the right place for me sort of attitude?
Absolutely, because also at that time, after drinking for such a long time in such large quantities, my mind was becoming less foggy. I was getting some clarity, and when that happens, initially you think I was thinking, okay, I'm all right again. I'm all right now.
I'll go now. That's okay.
And speaking with other participants who had been there for about 6 months, I was thinking, I won't need to be here for 6 months. I'll maybe a few weeks, and I'll be right.
I'll be fine.
Yeah, but I just allowed myself to, not put a time limit on it, to just completely immerse myself into the program, and to enjoy it. To take it very seriously, of course, but. To start that sort of journey into learning about myself, learning about the nature of addiction, why I had spent so much time doing so much damage to myself. Physically, emotionally, spiritually, look now, even to say I've been there for 6 months, it's hard to believe because it's sort of flown by.
When was the last time you have been dry for 6 months? When would that be? Years ago.
Yeah, when I was 18.
It's that, yeah. So this is a significant thing for you, isn't it?
It's huge.
Can't overestimate how important it is.
That's right.
Did anything surprise you about Dooralong?
Just how just what a welcoming and joyful place it can be.
It's not a word that you normally associate with a rehab centre, but it was joyful, you found.
Yes, very much so. Look, as I say, it is very controlled, in terms of the rules, the timetable. I was very as I say, my life was pretty chaotic, and I had very little responsibility. But adhering to the timetable, being in the right place at the right time. But but once I got into the routine, there are about 70 participants there.
Yes.
People from all over, from different backgrounds, different experiences. But everyone, really comes together to, we all have gone through, similar experiences. Obviously, not all the same, but we're all there for one thing. We're there to find recovery.
We at REMA, we only actually go to visit Dooralong once or twice a year, probably less because of COVID. But one of the things that strikes us when we do go there is the genuine support that there is for each other. When guys are doing it tough, other guys will come along, and they're not just doing it to tick a box. They genuinely care for each other and support each other. So you probably learn as much from each other, do you, as from the staff?
Absolutely, yeah. As far as group time, so, when we have sort of facilitated group discussions, for the first 4 weeks, there are only about 3 hours of time with sort of staff, supervision, and the rest of the time, it's about drawing on the community. Coming together as a community to figure it all out. And
that's what a genuine community is. You
Absolutely.
Look out for each other,
Definitely.
genuinely. Yeah. Okay, Ian. What about the spiritual side of things? Has that been a surprise to you? You knew it was run by the Salvation Army, clearly, so you were perhaps expecting a Christian input, but has your reaction to that spiritual input sort of surprised you in any way?
It has, yes. So, leading up to my experience at Dooralong, I was an atheist, and I believed that was based on... that was something I had arrived at because I had looked into. I thought it was an informed,
rational decision.
Yeah. So arriving at Dooralong, which, as you say, is run by the Salvation Army, I was somewhat resistant to, when I was told, so I have to attend chapel on a Wednesday night. It was sort of like, oh, they can't make me do that, but. Chapel is actually my favourite part of the week. Now, it's an opportunity for the community to come together and celebrate each other's transformations. I chose to do, as well as the group work that is part of the timetable. There were also optional recovery enhancement groups. So there are a number of these on offer. One of them being the Alpha course, which is an introduction to Christianity. So I chose to participate in that. There's also a prayer group, which again, is one that I chose to do. And also we meet once a week to what's called Step Life Recovery, which we look at the 12 steps. Yeah. So Dooralong runs a bridge program which follows the 12 steps that were set down, from Alcoholics Anonymous.
Yes.
So we look at the origins of the steps from Scripture, and we discuss, what we can take from the Bible to help us understand and work through the 12 steps. So, coming from a place of, being quite a staunch non-believer, particularly the Alpha course really
surprised you.
It did, yeah. I think it was the second week of the course. We watch videos. Alpha is, and the textual analysis is a science that looks at texts, ancient texts, to assess the
validity and the truth of them.
That's right, yeah. And I found that quite... that was my first sort of eye-opener, because I'm a social scientist, so I like to see evidence, and form, my own sort of beliefs based on what I can see. So that led me to think, okay, so, it seems it would appear, based on this science, that the Bible there is some validity
these texts
to the
are
Bible.
Genuine, yes.
Yeah, and then the question that then comes up is, so, if Jesus did exist, what was, I think they say there are three possibilities. Either he wasn't telling the truth, And they discuss how that possibility either or he was delusional, or he actually was the Son of God.
He was what he said he was.
Yes, yeah. And look, I'm still working on but I.
So it sounds as if that spiritual side of your life has been dormant for a long time. Yes, you are a physical person and an emotional person, but a realization that you're also a spiritual person has been a bit of an eye-opener for you.
Very much so, yeah. No, I really do believe that, what Dooralong offers and, the chapel, because we go on a Sunday to chapels outside of Dooralong.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, look, I believe that the spiritual aspect has really helped me in my recovery journey. I believe, if moving on from now, moving forward, if I live my life according to spiritual principles, then I'll find
a lot easier.
Peace.
A lot more.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We're going to break for some music. We'll come back and we'll have a little bit more of a chat with Ian, particularly looking forward to what may be sort of opening up for him. Talking to Ian this morning, we have Ian talked about how he surprised himself in what he discovered about spirituality and Christianity. Having been an atheist when he arrived at Dooralong, he's really surprised himself. He's signed up for options such as Alpha and prayer groups and things like that, which is terrific. But looking to the future, Ian, how much longer would you expect to be at Dooralong? Have you any idea?
When I leave Dooralong, I'll be moving back to Sydney. I've lived in Sydney for 20 years. That's I'm a bit
apprehensive.
Yes, that's the word. Yeah. So I've chosen to do that in a supported way. So to move to transition into a program that is based in Sydney. It's called the Burke Street program.
Okay.
And that's a residential rehabilitation service down there. So I've applied and I've been successful. I've been accepted. So I'm just waiting for a bed to open up down there. And I've been told that could take anywhere between sort of 2 weeks to 2 months.
Right.
So I'm sort of waiting at the moment. Look, I'm not in any hurry.
No.
So I'll complete program in about 3 weeks, and the great thing about Dooralong is they won't ask you to leave, provided you don't break any of the rules, but so I know that I'll be safe.
Yes. You're not being evicted.
No, that's right. Yeah. So but I mean, also, I'm sort of on notice at the moment, so my phone could ring at any moment, and they could tell me that the bed's available. Yeah, and I'd be making that move, which I mentioned before, I will be sad to leave.
Because I can understand that.
Yeah.
It's been a life-changing experience. And
absolutely.
You've made friendships and relationships which have been life-changing for you, and it's always sad when you have to say goodbye to that. But
and look, those friendships will continue, I'm confident of that, but and at the end of the day, we're all there. It's called Transformation Centre, so we go there to learn the skills, to help us
apply them to the rest of your life.
Yeah, so it is, it's a finite period of time, So
but you know that they're always there at the end of a phone if need be.
That's right.
Because people do go 2 or 3 times, as
right.
You probably know. So that's on the horizon. You talked earlier in our chat about jobs of your dream, or the job of your dreams that you had. Have you given any thought about sort of trying to find another job of your dreams?
Yeah, look, I'd like to continue doing research. I really believe in social justice, and I'd like to work again in a similar field. So I'll be looking at jobs at universities or research centres in Sydney.
Yeah.
With the program that I'm going into, they do ask that people don't look for work for the first couple of months. So, I'll have the opportunity to actually settle into just,
it's important, that, isn't it?
It is. And that's probably one of the most important things that I've learned is that, recovery requires continual, sort of ongoing maintenance. That you need to put steps.
And you can't rush it.
No.
You've got to do it in the way that the professionals advise you. They know what they're doing.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's right. So I'll be looking at... when I go down there, I'll be attending fellowship meetings, so Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous meetings. I'll also be linking in with a chapel,
local Salvo's chapel.
Yeah, so
that's terrific.
I was looking at going to actually Congress Hall. Actually, we were going to go this evening, but because of the COVID cases in Sydney, we put that on hold for now. But and Dooralong support that. They encourage participants to establish those connections.
Yeah. It's like that umbilical cord with Dooralong is still in place if you go to a Salvo's chapel.
Yeah, so that's really wonderful. So that when I do leave, I've already got things in place to ensure that I feel supported and It's been an absolute delight talking to you this morning, Ian. We just pray that God will continue to guide you and surprise you with joy in the ways that he has since you've been at Dooralong, and that he will continue to look after you and sort of wrap his arms around you as you transition out of Dooralong and transition into what we call more of a normal life. Thank you very much.
Give all our love to the rest of the guys back at Dooralong. Let them know they're doing terrific work. I'm sure they know that, but they can never be told too often. Thank you, Salvos. You do a great job. You've been listening to an encore presentation of the Dooralong stories, which can be heard live every Wednesday at 10 a.m. and repeated 8 p.m. Sunday and 1 a.m. Wednesday, right here on 94.9 rema.cc.